Hello, welcome back. Another live stream. Yes, more painting. I didn't get the Cloaker done yesterday, so I thought I'm going to finish it off and do all the detail work today, which is to be kind of expected. Look, this is my holiday, so this is very informal. I will certainly chat with you while I'm painting. You can ask me questions, have a discussion. I'm going to run a poll, as I have been with a lot of these live streams again, so you are welcome to take part in that. If you have some paints, some miniatures and some brushes, then by all means paint along with me while I'm painting my miniature. The other thing is I'm probably going to talk about player styles, because that's sort of something that's been percolating through my mind for quite some time, and but yeah, anyway, we are ready to go, so get yourself prepared. If you are not interested in painting, feel free to just grab some food, drink, and just chat along with me, ask me questions. It'll keep me occupied while I'm painting. Hi, welcome to HowtoDandD. My name is Fred Wheeler, and today I'm going to paint the Cloaker while talking about Dungeons and Dragons and roleplay games. But like all things, I am probably not going to do it exactly the same way that the monster manual has it laid out. I might make some adjustments, and I might sort of apply some techniques that I haven't sort of used before today. I don't know if they are going to work very well, so be warned, experimental stuff will occur. So if you are into experimental, then you're in the right place. I'm going to run a poll today. Hello Kathy, how's it going? Now the poll I've decided to run today is, what player style do you think you are primarily, okay, in a role-play game? Primarily. Now I know most people are a collection of play styles, and it's not normal that you would have just one play style in the way that you play the game, whether it be Dungeons and Dragons or an RPG. That's sort of, yeah, that's a given. We know this, okay? So I don't want to sort of get into that. If you are unsure what I mean by what is an actor or a storyteller, because they are slightly different, that's why I've put or. So actor and storyteller I've kind of clumped together, but they're not the same thing. Optimizer and slayer, not the same thing, but hopefully you get the idea. Watcher and or thinker, not the same thing, but hopefully it's kind of clear by what I've put there. Instigator, and I am an instigator. Explorer, it should be pretty obvious. Instigator is somebody who makes things happen, basically. So, yes, let's get started. I'm going to start off doing the front face because there's just not enough colour in it right now. This is skeleton bone that I've been using. It's all going to be fine brush work today. Oh, okay, let's get rid of that clump of paint there. There we go. All right, cool. So a clump of paint is gone. So what are you doing today, Kathy? Anything interesting? Or are you just working? I'm assuming that a lot of people just either gone back to work or they're doing other things. Let's just grab that. So yeah, if you are unsure as to what I mean by play style, just ask me in the chat and I'll explain it again as we go. I'm sure there'll be people who aren't entirely sure what I mean. Right, so the idea is to attack the face, deal with the underneath of the wings, deal with the spikes. Warlord of Art, hello, how's it going? And we're going to apply a reasonable amount of paint here. I expect that I will get this done today. For those of you who are wondering, will I get it done today? Yeah, I think it's definitely going to get done today. Because I'm putting on so little paint, I don't have to really worry so much about the drying time, whereas before that was sort of a factor. Just make sure I put it in the shot. I have a tendency to move it to where you can't see it, and it's good if you look. If I do that, if you tell me, it's good because then I will shift it so you can get a better view of what I'm up to. So I thought what I would do while you guys are answering that murder hobos. Now, I did not put murder hobos in there, okay? I don't really consider that a play style. that's something that people do, yes, but it's not necessarily a play style as such. We can disagree if you don't think that's correct, but yeah, that's just a behavior that tends to occur sometimes. And I wouldn't say that there's necessarily, I mean, I suppose you could say that Slayers are prone to engaging in that sort of behavior, but that's people who like to hack and slash. But I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the case. Hi Brett, how's it going? Hey Fred, have a good one. Just finishing an exercise workout while son finishes online school for the day. Oh, cool. All right. Well, I'm going to be going to the beach after this. That's my plan. And I will go for a walk on the beach, which means it's been getting easier and easier to actually get up and down the hill and walk along the beach and generally just do anything. I didn't realize just how badly I'd let myself go. But it's coming along. I'm getting there, which is good news. I don't want to hurt myself because I want to be able to do something every day. So that is the front face pretty much coated, I think. I think that's got that sorted. Right, so yeah, I thought what I would do is I would talk about actors as a play style. There is a play style that is an actor, and if you're unsure sort of what that is, I'm going to explain it to you. I'm not going to explain all the others. Literally, one of the things I have wanted to do is do separate videos on all the different play styles because it would take that long. There's literally that much information to communicate. All right, so underneath, actually, I'm going to do the spikes next. I'm going to use this grey. I believe it's a grey that I wanted to use rather than anything else. Based on the picture that I had, I'm pretty sure grey was the one I wanted. Yeah, that's the one. Yep. So I'm going to pick this grey that I've got. This is a Vallejo grey. This is medium sea grey. So that's sort of like a grey, grey blue maybe. I suppose you could say grey blue. There we go. So yes, like I was saying, I've wanted to do videos on different play styles, but I also knew that it would require me to do a separate video for every single one of them because they're actually quite complicated. And that's sort of like the sort of things, what they're like, what they like to do, how to engage them, and how to deal with some of their behavior. Because every single play style has a behavior that you have to be careful of. Now, a lot of this has existed for years in older Dungeon Master guides. And if you pull all that information together, you get quite a good rundown. And it's, I would say, one of the more useful pieces of information out there. But I've never been completely convinced that if I did it, people would really be that interested. Lewis, how's it going? Hello, everyone. Yes, I'm going to paint my first mini this weekend because of me. Because of you, because you really, that's cool. What are you going to paint, Lewis? You're going to tell us what you're going to paint now. All right, let's have a look and see how our different styles are panning out. We've got quite a few people who believe that they are actor storytellers. A lot of people who believe they are instigator explorers. A few people who think they're optimizer or slayers. A few people who think they're a watcher or thinkers. Okay, we'll wait until there's a few more people who've put in their votes, but yeah, we'll go from there. So every style of play has its merits, but that also has problems that you will come across. I'm going to do this way. I think this is going to be the smartest way to deal with that. And so it's good to know what they are, and also what they like, and what they can get up to in the worst case scenario, because there are sort of situations like that. But as I said, I have been very, very reluctant to do that because I was not convinced. We've got a bot, bye-bye bot. We're going to report you and send you off on your way. Yep, that's that little button there. And you are Dunskies. So yes, by all means, if you feel that maybe I'm wrong and I should be doing that, then go for it. I have seen other people do videos on play styles before. I felt like most of those videos were very sort of superficial. But then again, I can talk for 20 minutes about how to use a piece of rope in Dungeons and Dragons. So yeah, I guess it's a different way of seeing things, and so maybe there's benefit in me doing it. I did a video a long time ago where I really only went over everything, the play style, superficially, but it was 50 minutes long to try to go over all 8 of them. And then to talk about sort of the... 2 Umber Hulks. Cool. An Umber Hulk is a cool monster. It was. Dungeons & Dragons 5e Umber Hulks are not quite as interesting as they used to be. What's this, Brent? Nice, Lewis. I painted all of my Talisman board game minis after watching Fred paint some minis. Oh, really? Now, do you know, one of the things somebody had mentioned is, have I painted all the miniatures that I have? And you know, one of the things I have held off on is painting all of the board game miniatures that I have. Now, I could. Now, the reason I don't is because those board games are, frankly, way too expensive in some cases, and quite difficult to actually access. It was a lot easier to get hold of them in the past. I've also been sort of thinking that should I wind up semi-retiring, it would be nice to have access to a lot of miniatures and not have to go down to the shop and buy some all the time, particularly if I wind up doing a lot more of this sort of thing. And I've kind of come to the conclusion that I would probably take a break every 4 months, so that would probably happen. Oh, look, there's another bot. Let's get rid of that bot. Let's see, where is this? This is the day of the bots. We're going to report you, bot, and we'll let YouTube tan your backside. There you go. Go for it. Now, I'm going to struggle with this name. This is, what's the name? Dick's Bumpkin. Been permanent DM since 2013, doing 3.5. Okay. See, there's another thing. I said this before. I really feel like I need to do a video that sort of shows players how to get into the DM chair and do it, rather than just let somebody else continue to do it indefinitely. Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how we go. A few times I've gotten to play. I've been a thinker due to trying and getting around the metagame knowledge. Right, yes. There's nothing wrong with being a thinker. It's not like thinkers just sit there and think and then do nothing with it, but they think very carefully about what the group are going to do. So I would say that the vast majority of people believe that they are storytellers and actors, but I could be wrong based off this poll, although this poll is not sort of that extensive, so it's only a very small number of people really. And I think that might be the influence of Critical Role and a lot of online games now, but not necessarily. Dungeon Master Ale, good afternoon, how's it going? Yeah, no, I'm doing all right. It's not really hot here, so it's quite comfortable, which is good. I like that. It's a good thing. Okay, so now that I've done that, and we've covered that little piece, I'm going to do something to the underneath of this miniature. Now, I'm not recommending this as a technique. So I used this skeleton bone here, and I'm now going to use this khaki sort of greeny color to darken underneath the wings, which means I'm not putting that on the highest areas. I'm actually going to paint the brush and lines following the darkest and deepest sections, and any sort of recesses I'm going to kind of go over them, and then I'll tidy up with the bone, the skeleton bone later. I'm using a standard brush, which is kind of a bit on the old side, There's nothing particularly special about it. It's starting to splay a little bit. So this is what I'm using for today. I'm not suggesting to you that this is a good technique, but I'm trying it out. I've seen somebody sort of do something like this, and I thought it was actually quite smart. Camille, how's it going? I'm a thinker and normally the leader. Yes, I can believe that. Not with strength, but with brain and experience. Right. Yep. Thinkers often make pretty good leaders in a group. So the actor. There's like I said, there's a lot of different play styles. Usually people are not made up of one particular play style, and you shouldn't feel bad if you are a particular play style. That's not what we're looking at. Okay, it is just what you would prefer to do, because every aspect of any play style has a benefit. And actors like to pretend that they are their game character in the world. Like, very much they put themselves completely into it, which is great for a dungeon master, and honestly can be great for the group as well. It can be a lot of fun to play with these people who want to be the actor. What's that, Pale Rider? We always rotate DMing. You get to swap to different characters more often and get different Dungeon Master styles. Now, the styles I'm talking about aren't so much Dungeon Master styles, because that's different again. These are sort of player character styles. I suppose I should have prefaced. Did I preface that enough? Probably not. Probably not. So back to the actor. The thing with an actor, because they like to pretend to be the character, and now I'm going to go along this line here, which is the drop off bit or section. I'm going to paint along here this darker color. Not a lot, but just a little line. Like so. You can see what's going on here, I hope. It isn't going to be perfect. It doesn't need to be. We are going to wash all of this. This line in here can come in. And just there. Right. Alright. Lots of fine detail work today. So actors enjoy sort of interacting with your non-player characters, the other player characters in the party. They like talking to monsters, so the idea of befriending stuff is quite common. So talking is a big factor for them. That interaction. Not necessarily just talking, but at least getting to interact in some way. And often their goal is to talk in the first person. Like, they like to speak in character in the first person, and the goal often for an actor is to use an accent, but not always. So you may be starting to realize that this sounds like a lot of the people from Critical Role. Well, it is, because their play style is that of the actor. Camille, a bard could be a funny actor. Yes, absolutely. I was commenting on the Forever DM comment in chat. Oh, right. Okay, got it. Got it, Pale Rider. Yeah. Yeah, the Pale Rider. Look, Pale Rider, yeah, I do feel like maybe I need to talk about how to get people into the DM chair. I'm sure it's going to come up at some point. So you can see what I'm doing. It is just very, very light amounts. You can see it hasn't actually sort of made it stand out horribly. It is just very, very subtle. And I am going to do the same thing about here, 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 there, any recesses, any drop-offs. Anywhere where the surface is lower is a good point. This here would be a good point to put it, I think, and then spread it out. What's this, Todd? Hello, Todd. I'm currently painting in Outhouse Dice Jail. I love it. Oh, that's awesome. Thanks for sharing that, Todd. I always love to hear about outhouse stories. For those of you who don't know, I believe in putting toilets into role-play games. Yeah, okay. All right, so my family were into toilet humor. I can't help myself. This is one of my Achilles' heels. Amongst many, I'm sure. Okay, so you can see what I've done with that. It's very, very, very subtle. And through here, through here, through here. And then we'll just do the drop off on the edge. Pale Rider. The way I play really depends on what character I'm playing and how I feel that day. Yes, that can absolutely be a case. This is why you're not necessarily the same play style. Do you know what I mean? You often can be made up of a couple of different play styles, and the predominant one, there'll be one that you'll predominantly use, but that can shift and sway a little bit depending on how things are going for you on any given day. Absolutely. Okay, so this is... Now you're probably wondering why I'm not using a finer, cleaner brush, because a little bit of rough work is always good. If it looks too clean, you kind of defeated the purpose of doing this in the first place. So that's why it's a slightly bigger brush and a little bit worn as well. So it's not a perfect line. Shadow, shadow, shadows. Shadow in there, not very much. Shadow in here because that's the drop down. We've got that going. That's all right. That looks like it's working out all right. Okay, cool. Now that last little line along there on the wing, and I think the wings are mostly done. If it's not coming out that dark on your miniature, that's not a bad thing, by the way. I don't know that you can necessarily see how subtle it is on the camera, and it will be quite subtle. All right, absolutely. I need a drink of water. All right, now that I've done that, I want to start attacking some of the other parts of this miniature before we get too far into things. And I'm going to do these little hooks on the front of our cloaker. And I think that definitely needs some sort of attention. But before I do that, I'm going to hit the eyes. I'm going to use a very small brush. I'm actually, oh, where is it? This is the brush I want. I'm going to use a very small brush, and I'm actually going to use white. Now I know that seems weird, but really that's more just to help me sort of line up where everything is. And it is not so much the color I want to pick, it's more to help pick out where it is, where the eyes are specifically, so I can find them. I can also hit the teeth as well at the same time to try to make them stick out so I can find them later on. I'm not going to have white teeth, by the way. Alright, so how's our poll coming? So Instigator and Explorer seems to be getting the 40% mark. Interesting. Alright, okay, the poll's coming along here. Optimizers and Slayers seem to be the smallest portion. Right, so these little hooks in the front, we'll start putting some paint on them. Just small amounts. There's two little hooks on the outside and a little hook on the inside. And I'm going to have to wash out my brush a lot, unfortunately, when I'm doing this. So, back to the actor who likes to be the character as such. Actors really enjoy interacting with the group and NPCs. One of the things they are not so keen on is they're not very keen on fighting. Killing and fighting things and getting into combat is not their priority, which is fine. It's good. It helps balance out those people who are right into that sort of thing. Okay, so that means that when you've got encounters that you're running, it is good to have an out where people don't necessarily have to fight. It is probably much more likely that an actor will consider the option to flee from a battle rather than to end the life of another creature. Again, actually quite useful, particularly if they've bitten off more than they can chew. So yeah, really quite helpful. It's something to consider when you're dealing with an actor. They're going to focus on things like their character, not everybody's character, but their character background, their character personality, and their character's motivations. Things around the background stuff like bonds, ideals, flaws, those are very important to them as well. And they're the sort of person who are absolutely going to write quite a lot in their backstory. They are going, if you say, okay, bring along a backstory, you may well get quite a long backstory because they will think about it a lot. They will put in a lot of effort. Oh, I'm struggling trying to actually hit that. There, got it. Cool, blimey. It was small. Dungeon Master, I made my Cloaker miniature belly more pale and shaded from there. Yeah, okay. To the edges. The outside is dark blue, and I added some small marks from previous battles. Fair enough. What do you got here, Todd? My player's most common response to any obstacle is to fight. That, look, to be fair, Dungeons and Dragons 5th Ed edition is set up like that, so that it tends to be the go-to. Just the way that they've done things. They are all new to D&D. Would be okay after an encounter to explain to them an alternative solution that they may work with without combat. Yeah, look, you can explain to your players like there are other alternatives you might want to consider pursuing, because if you kill everything, then you can't ask questions. And although interrogation has some nasty elements to it, it is certainly very useful for collecting information when moving forward. But also too, if you don't have objectives, this is one of the things a lot of people struggle with, is not giving their any sort of situation that is a fight an objective, where it's just kill the monster or the NPCs. If you don't give them objectives to complete, where they can fail, they may kill the monsters but still fail, then you will struggle getting players to actually adjust their behavior. And the people who are probably going to be the hardest to shift with regard to that are your slayers, who like hack and slashing, like fighting, and your optimizers, who are often building characters for combat. That I've met a lot of optimizers who are not necessarily that interested in combat, because they find that part of the game so easy that they will try to look for alternatives. It's very rare, but it does happen. Okay, so I got that little bit. I'm going to have to start doing the eyes and get a little paint on that. Pale Rider. Old habits die hard. I don't like making a backstory until I have played the character for a bit. See, this is what you're talking about, Pale Rider, is actually what a lot of older players tend to do. People have played for a long time. Often their backstory is very, very minimal, as you probably already know. And they build in the backstory over time when there is opportunity to do so. So in other words, everything about your story is tied to gameplay time rather than outside of gameplay time. You'll let me know if you think I'm wrong, but I'm pretty sure that, I know this because I play with a lot of people who are in their 40s and 50s, so it's quite a common approach, where whatever backstory you have is very minimal, maybe about a paragraph, if that, and then everything else is built as you go. And you only build in the things that you know the Dungeon Master absolutely needs. Okay, that is the eyes. I'm going to say it right now, a lot of this is really tricky to get at. Alright, I'm going to do the teeth so I can find the teeth. So, given that your actor is focused on that part of style of the game and on their character in particular, how do you engage them? Well, there's a couple of things you can do. And the first thing is you help the actor character develop their character. So if there are things and opportunities to help them develop their character, they like that sort of thing. Okay, most people like the opportunity to help develop their character to some sort of degree, but actors in particular like it a lot more. It's their thing. It's like their drug. Like, seriously, not that I'm saying that's a bad thing, but that's the thing that certainly drives them a lot. And providing them with role play or social interactions, an opportunity to actually do that. You don't need to sort of necessarily have it written out and so forth, but if you provide an opportunity where that can happen, they're much happier. I can say now that this miniature's teeth are going to be sucky to paint. Really, really hard. Pale Rider, what do you got here? Playing old editions, I always tell the player they'll get the same up for killing monsters or just resolving the encounter. Exactly. That is another thing to communicate to people who just want to murder hobo or just kill, is that if you say, look, you don't have to kill them to get the XP. So absolutely, I totally agree. Now, I have to turn the angle on this so I can actually see what's going on. I do apologise if I'm getting very quiet. It's just this is the tricky stuff now. So another thing you can do to help engage the actor in your game is to emphasise character moments. Now, even if it's not necessarily their character, although they prefer that, they do like it when somebody else's character jumps to the forefront, because it's somebody else acting. It's somebody else role-playing their character, and they, as I said, they like that sort of thing. So if you do this, there is a chance that they may try to steal the spotlight from somebody else when you do this. But they do like it when you give other people the spotlight in a game. But one of the things you have to be wary of is they are likely to try to grab the spotlight themselves. And another thing you can consider, and that is recruit your actor, much like the storyteller playstyle. Recruit them to help flesh out and create your campaign or adventure narrative, because they're actually really good at that sort of thing, and they will help you build that. When it's starting to fall apart, they may very well have solutions to problems that you weren't expecting, because that's how they think. So you can utilize them. You can exploit them in ways that they don't mind in the slightest. If you say, if you help me with this, they're like perfectly happy with that as a possibility. How are we doing? A lot of instigators and explorers. I suppose I shouldn't be surprised, since I'm very much an explorer, instigator, and slayer. You would think I would be actor storyteller, but I'm actually probably more instigator, explorer, slayer in terms of my play style. So I guess a lot of people on the channel probably gravitate to, probably have picked out that that's where my head's at. Or maybe it's just the people who are watching the stream right now. Okay, so now, that's right, I'm going to get some black in that mouth because I kind of lost some of the black that was there. One thing I would like to say about actors, when you try to get them to help you out with the narrative and the storytelling of a campaign or adventure and help fill in the gaps, is that you've got to be careful they don't try to build the story or the campaign around their character. That is a tendency that can pop up from time to time, and so it is one of the Achilles' heels, the flaws of having an actor in your group, is the tendency to want to do that. Now, if it's somebody who's aware of this tendency, good, you'll be fine. If they're unaware of it And I have met a few people who are completely unaware that they are doing this, and they're so happy about the idea of their character being the main focus for a campaign that they lose perspective. So you've just got to be careful with that aspect of the actor. Camille, what do you got here? Todd, it's not the best to tell them that there was an other way, and sometimes it destroys the session if you tell them there was an alternative. No, but you don't need to tell them that there was an alternative. What you can do, although I don't honestly think it's a big issue, frankly. I know it can. I know what you're trying to say there, Camille. I would say you're right that it can destroy the moment and the session immersement. But I am not I should dungeon master, so I'm going to say this. Yes, there is a tendency to do this, but what you can do, which is probably going to be a little bit more successful, is you can indicate to them that there are ways of dealing with stuff outside of just killing everything. Yes, and then give them some examples. You know, you can run away, you can talk to them and try and find out some information before you attack them. I mean, I often would say, particularly to new people, look, there's always the option to talk to them, and if you decide you got the information you got from them by just chatting with them, or it's going to be too difficult to do so, you can choose to just walk off or walk away and don't worry about it, or you can just attack them and then loot their bodies and cast Speak with Dead with them if you really want. So there are ways of dealing with that. Okay, so now I'm going to use, where is it? This, I think that's the colour there. The zombie flesh. I'm going to use the spikes. I don't want them grey. I'm going to use this colour instead. Do I still have some that's dry? It's over here. Now there are things that we need to concern ourselves with regard to the actor style, and I'm going to sort of go over the. I've mentioned a few of them, but I'm going to just sort of tell you the really big ones, the things you don't want actors to do in your game, because it almost always can cause more problems than it's worth. And some of you will be absolutely familiar with what I'm about to say, so not necessarily completely new stuff here. You're welcome, Camille. Yeah, I'm not trying to overshoot what you're trying to say. It's absolutely not, because you are right. It can. I guess I just want to adjust the approach to that. That's all. What do I do? No, I think it's in the wrong pot. Is it the wrong pot? It is the wrong pot. It'll do. It's fine. It'll work. Hello, Overboard. Hi, how's it going, Joe? So I'm assuming that you are busy doing stuff. Right, so while I'm painting these spikes, you're welcome, Todd. I hope I hope it proves to be useful advice. Can I just say that all pieces of advice don't always work, and you need to do them more than once to see and check to make sure that they actually work for you. There are also situations and groups where no matter what advice you get, it won't work. I know that sounds weird, but seriously, there are groups of players that where no matter what you do, you can change nothing. It's a frightening experience, but it does happen. So, actors, things you don't want them to do. And that is justify their disruptive behaviour. If they start to engage in disruptive behaviour, which is rare, but that can happen, and then they write it off as acting in character. So that's what my character would do. This is a phrase and a statement that is used by more than one play style, but actors use this statement and comment as well. Okay, it does come up. And then the other thing you need to concern yourself with an actor and that play style is something like boring the other players. Like because they could be quite happy to just have the entire session be revolving around just talking, and just there's no exploration, there's There's no combat, and they just talk with an NPC the whole time. They would be quite happy to do that, and that's not for everybody. So you can wind up with a situation where they will just pursue that, and everybody will get frustrated and bored, and then suddenly people who weren't really instigators become instigators, and the instigators in the group who were restraining themselves lose their shite and go completely nuts and do something bat crazy to make some action happen. I know this because that is my response as an instigator to actors who decide that an hour's worth of discussion with an NPC is the best course of action. As I said, I always try to provide things based on my own personal experience. So I see that I find it interesting. At the poll is certainly starting to shape out a bit now. We've got some movement in different areas. I'm not really surprised that optimizers, that we've got very few optimizers or slayers in the group. Do you know the, I think the terminology, I'm not really fond of adjusting wording because it doesn't really deal with the primary issue. But often, optimizer was coined as the power gamer. And because power gamers get such a rough deal, frankly, they often don't like being referred to as a power gamer, and so they prefer to be called an optimizer. Even min-maxer, but usually it's optimizer. So that's why I used that wording, this case. Geez, I can't see that. That detail on that spike is... Oh, that's what it is. It's a flake of paint. I for a second there, I could not figure out what was going on. But now I do. Oh dear. Good. All right. Keep washing out our brush. Keep working our way across these spikes. Now you could do the spikes black or a darker color. They could be brown. They could be grey. They could be the color I'm painting them now. It's just some way of differentiating them from everything else, right? I like the idea of the lighter colors rather than the dark colors, because it's kind of the norm, right? To either go with a sort of a motley white, like I'm doing now, or black. So I'm going with the motley sort of white color. Ah dear. Right, so yeah, so let me know if anybody's got the time. Let me know, just chuck it into the chat. I won't put up a poll or anything like that. Let me know if maybe me talking about player styles is something that you think would be useful. I don't know that it would necessarily be useful for players. I'm not sure that players would watch that kind of video, although they probably should. Is it something that, maybe needs to be revisited? I just want to warn you now that if I talk about the play styles, that they would literally be separate videos, would be a whole series, and I would probably talk for a very, very long time about each one. So yeah, I'd be interested to know if people are interested in something like that. Now, where are we? Almost there. I think I'm just going to have a cursory look over the spikes, see if I've missed anything. Oh, yeah, I have. I don't like this tail. It is a little bit flimsy, a little bit hard to get at things, so supporting it while I'm painting is actually really difficult. I'm getting there, but it's, yeah, I have to say it's a little bit of a pain. All right, cool. All right, so that's that bit. Let's just leave that there for now. wash out my brush. I'm going to go for the eyes again. I'm heading towards a red colour, and then I'm going to use an orange colour. So this is Cambion Crimson. So it's not the darkest red I have, but it's the red that I think I'm going to utilise for today. Let me spin this around a little bit. What's this? Bumpkin, what do you got here? Any content from you is welcome. Really? You really do you think that everything I do is great? I would say that there are times when I probably do things that aren't that great. So it's nice that you say that, but I'm sure there are times where there is stuff that I've made that isn't that great. It's going all right. That's M14. M14 SRV. M14 SRV. Almost feels like military. Almost. I don't know if it is. Right, so the eyes are, now that I can see them with the white, I'm going to try to get the red in there. And my eyes are just really weak. My hand control is pretty poor, so I think my ability to actually get this, to pull this off, is going to be difficult. So if I hold my breath and get quiet, you know there's a reason. And if it goes out of shot, there's a reason too. All right, so this is hard. Yeah, I really am not going to have a lot of fun with this eye. It's not that I can't fix it up, because I can, but that'll be later. So that's the eyes. Teeth. Now I think what I'm going to do with the teeth is I'm actually going to use this. No, that's not right. I'm going to use this Minotaur hide over the white, and just touch them a little bit, and then I'm going to use another color again, which it'll be back to the, I think it's zombie flesh for the teeth, but I'll do that a little bit later on. So this is this color here. Give it a shake. What do you got here? Don't know why you but the way my old DM described a cloaker, I thought it was a black inky sheet of strangulation, because it is. That's exactly what it is. I mean, it looks like this, but I think that what they've described it as is pretty good. I think that's spot on. Okay, so fine brush, small amount of paint, brush is wet. Okay, all right. Now, I mean, I've got so many videos now on my channel that I think most people don't even know they exist. I think there is, to be fair, there's 1,200 videos. That's 1,200 videos, some live streams, some edited in various locations. And then there is almost 400, not quite, but 400 videos that are unpublished. So if I die tomorrow, my brothers have more than enough videos they can keep putting up on the channel for about half a year, maybe even a year, before you run out. And then I've given them instructions should that day ever come. And then there is the other 360 live streams that I've hidden, which kind of puts me in a position where I've made an awful lot of content. There's a lot there. I've made probably more videos than most YouTubers will ever do in their entire YouTube career. Some aren't very good, and some are very good. Some are original, and some are just the same old stuff that everybody else does. Okay, the white helped me find it, and now I just get the brown in there. I think that's now I guess you're wondering why I wanted to go with the white, because if I figured if I missed it, then I've got that sort of white tinge to sort of indicate that there is teeth there, rather than a black. Because the inside of the mouth is so black already, I didn't really want to do that with have a black around the teeth. And then the bottom one, frankly, is difficult to get at, but we're getting there. You know, I'm already starting to feel like I'm pretty happy with the majority of this miniature. The only thing that I'm not happy about, and you guys can let me know, and people let me know what you think, but I feel like the face is going to be my biggest hassle. I feel like the face of this creature is the hardest thing for me to get my head around. It's not coming together the way I had hoped. Maybe it's because I just haven't finished it. Maybe it'll all come together at the end. I mean, often that's the case, right? You do a miniature, it doesn't look quite what you were wanting, and then that final sort of touch of paint makes the big difference. And right now, I'm not feeling I'm in the right place, so maybe the approach was the wrong approach. We'll see. We'll see. So, yeah, if you are a player or a dungeon master, my recommendations is, look, there are online tools that you can go and try out that are like surveys, and they can actually help you find out what style of play you have, because once you know what style of play you prefer, it's much easier. Yeah, it's only got 2 eyes. It's much easier to help integrate yourself and to understand where you're weakest and where you might struggle or create problems. Honestly, if you want to make your environment, your group work well, understanding your play style is absolutely vital. It's integral to the group survival. Not just making friends. How many eyes? Yeah, 2. A catfish. Yeah, kind of. It is starting to look a bit like a catfish. Right now, these front things, I am actually going to use... Now, where was that colour I was using before? The zombie flesh. That's right. I wanted to use the zombie flesh on them because I don't want them to be white. I struggled a lot. I've watched 970 of your videos, Fred. Oh my gosh, Joe. Right now, Joe, I apologize for your suffering. That's a lot. I mean, there was a point where I was making one every day and I would just sit in my car and turn on the camera on my phone. So the content in the video is fine, and the quality of the sound in the video isn't that great. And they were very short. They were literally the time it took for me to sit down 4 or 5 minutes at the most, and then turn it off, and then I'd go and do something else. This is back when I honestly didn't think that YouTube would be anything but a hobby. And also too, I wanted to get everything out to people faster. Do you know, one of the things I've realized is there's not enough time. There's just not enough time to do all the things I would like to do. And I'm always concerned that I might run out of time. And so therefore I have contingency plans in place. And I want to cover all the things that need to be covered, because I would like to think that playing role-play games is going to have an impact for people for a long time to come. And and truly, I've said this before, I want Dungeons and Dragons and playing in role-play games rather than Monopoly and Snakes and Ladders to be the thing that people do. It is the natural order of things for your younger kids. And I feel like adults need that as well. Particularly when you're dealing with the realities of the world, where you got to pay a mortgage and go to a job and look after families and all that sort of stuff. It can get hard. Okay, what do you got here, Joe? I like your mini storage options video from a long time ago. Yeah, I noticed a lot of people. I think a lot of people watched that video. I know the video you're talking about, and then they did their own. I actually. My video that I made was actually based off DM Johnny. DM Johnny used to have a channel. I think he still does. It doesn't do very much on it, but and he did a video, and I looked at it and I thought, oh, he's got a good idea going there. But actually, I used these containers. Maybe I should talk about these containers that I'm using, and so I put that out. And yeah, okay. So I'm going to use this zombie flesh on the teeth. Am I using the zombie flesh on the teeth? No, I'm not. It's not going to be different enough. No, I'm going to use the grey, this medium C grey, on the teeth. I've got to be careful how much paint I put on though. That's the problem. So I feel like those little spikes in the front are actually pretty good the way they are. The white and then that zombie flesh has actually worked out pretty well. The spikes, I'm pretty happy with the spikes at the back being essentially the same colour. And now I'm going to go with trying to finish up our teeth. Get them to a point where they actually kind of work. The more paint I put on though, the more it's going to cause problems, I suspect. So let's just see if this works. I'm going to brush it on really, really thin. No, it's too damp, the brush. Hang on. I've got to be careful I don't dry it off too much either. It'll just dry on the brush and that'll be it. Okay, so very, very slowly. Okay, all right. We're all right so far. Let's try that again. Okay, that's not too bad. Let's do that again. I might need to change the angle of the miniature to get at it. And this is going to be, this is the time where I know this. I think this part of the miniature's teeth is going to be the hardest bit. Yeah, it's not the paint's not coming off, and the angle is so difficult to get at. Let's try that again. Not too much. I think the paint just dried so fast on the brush that there was nothing left to come off onto it. Okay, let's do that again. Okay, there's too much paint now. I knew this was going to be difficult. I knew these teeth were going to be difficult. When I first saw them, I was like, oh. It looks easy, but little fine teeth are always the hardest to paint. Okay, there's too much. Brush off. Still too much. Trying to control the amount of paint I've got on the brush. Why is that causing me so much trouble? Stepping away for a bit, not a problem. I feel like I'm getting closer to the completion of this, so it shouldn't be too much longer before I'm finished. I'm just struggling with the teeth right now. Now, I think a few of you may have taken part in the poll for the followers. You know, what are followers used for? Oh, it's quite deliberate on my part. It is leading up to a video that I said I would do, and I do plan to make. And I did suspect that a lot of people would pick combat and the strongholds option. I kind of suspected that would be the case. And I mean, to be fair, I would say that all the options provided, and there's more than what I can put in the poll, frankly, in terms of what you can do with followers and their purpose, because they have a lot of purposes. But often the go-to I find with a large portion of the player base is combat. And I see people who were commenting about hirelings, and followers aren't hirelings, okay? Followers, the thing to understand in terms of my understanding of followers and how I'm using that term is followers are loyal to you and you don't have to pay them to do stuff. They may not always be available to you and you can pay them, but they aren't just somebody you find who's a mercenary that you pay money to. Yeah, strongholds are certainly a big factor if you have a stronghold, or a business. If you've got a business that's being run, then you might have them running your business, right? Because you're off doing other things, right? And strongholds can include a lot of other things that aren't necessarily spelled out as well. So very much linked to strongholds is looking after the peasantry and collecting tax. So you'll probably have followers collecting tax. I kind of put that in there to see if I would catch anybody on that one. Right. So the teeth are all right. I don't like them particularly. I'm going to try and do something with these eyes. Those eyes are just... The red is, I mean, that was never my intention to use that as the final colour. I'm going to try to use this. This is supposed to be Firenewt orange. It looks yellow to me. And as you know, if you've done any sort of painting, yellow is a terrible colour to put onto anything. Yeah, all of them are viable, absolutely. Some are less, aren't quite as smart an idea as others. But I find that as Dungeons and Dragons 5th edition is supposed to be about 3 pillars, but it really, frankly, seems to be more revolving around combat, I kind of suspected there'd be a lot of people who would put down the combat aspect. But it is actually the least useful one. It's the one aspect of followers that cause the most number of problems. And the reason is that as soon as you say, I'm going to take a follower into combat, your dungeon master says, no, you're not. You're not having a follower. Thank you very much. So it never happens. The only time that followers tend to be utilized in games is with a very experienced dungeon master who has a small group of players. And that yellow is doing nothing. Nothing. I knew it. I knew I was going to have problems with that, so we're not going to use that. I'm going to use this colour instead. This is a flat red Vallejo colour. It kind of looks more orange, and I'm going to see if that works better. Pale Rider. I only ever use followers in combat in defense of the stronghold. Yes, that's when followers make sense. Although your followers, since you don't have that many, they'll be commanding the army that looks after the stronghold. And the stronghold will be full of soldiers or guards or whatever that you pay. And they're not actually your followers. The follower in a castle or a stronghold is usually like the castellan. The person who makes sure that the day-to-day processes are done. So because you don't get that many followers, you know, you're not necessarily going to get people who are willing to follow you and be completely loyal. So I guess that's where my head was at. If you had a ship, a sailing ship, and somebody attacks your sailing ship, they'll probably be the captain. They'll probably be the captain on that ship rather than one of the player characters, because the captain shouldn't be going ashore and exploring. We know that James T. Kirk didn't understand this, and Spock would be constantly reminding him, but he would ignore him. But yeah, in your own games, you're not really trying to be James T. Kirk, are you? Well, are you? Maybe you are. M14, what do you got here? I was in a group where 2 people had followers, 1 cockatrice and 1 skeleton. Baby black dragon. Yeah, I've had baby dragons in campaigns before. It gets very complicated. It gets very, very complicated, and they can die because followers are usually a lot weaker. What do you got here, Pale Rider? Thus might not apply to miniatures, but if I want the true yellow over another colour, I either prime or paint the area in white first and then go over with yellow. Yeah, what I wanted to do is I wanted to have sort of red and like a dot of yellow, but I don't think it's going to work. I think in this case it just isn't working. And my hand control right now seems to be off. Right, so there's a little bit of a fix-up I need to do. So I'll do that. Where is the paint for that one? That's this one here. Do a little clean-up around the eyes. And where are we? Let's just put that there. Doesn't need to be very much. Yeah, so Dungeon Masters don't really like the idea of a large number of followers following the group around, particularly if you've got 4 players. If you've got 4 or more players, then having a follower that comes with you into combat, that's just more work for a Dungeon Master. So you're almost guaranteed to not wind up with any followers, including sidekicks. So the better option to ensure that you do get to have followers is to make it clear what you plan to use the follower for, and then your Dungeon Master is much more open to the idea of having them in the game. That's what I've found, because there's always that fear that you'll make the game more difficult to run by having too many major NPCs along with the player characters as well. Alright, so now I'm going to have a think about this. Just give me a second while I think about these eyes. I may have some options. A few times we retired and our players took over a follower for our characters who left for their own adventures. Yes, followers can go on their own adventures, absolutely. A 7-player group, my God. I've done it before. It's not recommended, and it's honestly, even I mean, it does happen. But it's not something that's going to be regular. People just don't like doing that sort of thing. Right, so let me just look at the colour selection. I don't know. Oh, maybe I can use this colour. Yeah. Okay. I've found 2 colours. We'll give them a go. I'll see if I can't get this eye to come out the way I want it. I probably need to sort of do some just minor highlighting on the front of that miniature. Where's the white? The white. Do I want to use white? No, I don't. I don't really want to use white there. This is the problem. I think maybe I'm going to rely on the wash for that section. I just want to get the eyes sorted. So I'm going to try out this Rust Monster orange colour and see if that works. What's that, Pale Rider? We use followers on long treks. Yes, adventures. Yeah, they carry the stuff, right? But they were just to stay with our stuff. Yes, that's right. Protect your stuff and your mounts so nobody goes and kills them. Absolutely. They can act as porters. Absolutely, I agree. But often porters can wind up getting wiped out by ambushes. So sometimes you would, sometimes I found, because I've had this in my own games where there's like 12 porters following the players round, and they're like, oh, can we get them to engage in combat? And I said, no, you can't. Oh, okay, if we can't have them in combat, can you name every single one of them since they're carrying our stuff? And I'm like, okay, so be it. Yes, players do get up to that sort of stuff. What is your maximum of players? So I still make it's still fun. I prefer a group of 6. More than 6 is not fun. But I do actually prefer a larger group. I don't find that a large group online is that easy though. Okay, we're using the toothpick today, and did that do anything? I don't know if it even did anything. I think it's working. I'm just okay, so I just ballsed it up and went too low. Alright, so I've got to fix that now. Where is the paint that I need for that? Did I put some out? I did. There it is. Just a little bit of that. And I'll just clean up around that eye. Okay, so now that I've used that, I'm going to try to use the rosy skin. So I've got red, orange on the eye, and I'm going to try to give just a spot of yellow. I don't think I'm going to have the control I need to be able to use a brush, so I'm not going to try that. Now, where do I want to put it? That's the question. Well, that looks relatively dry. Rosy skin, have I ever used this paint? Is this the first time? It may well be the very first time I've ever used this paint. Rosy skin. It looks like a really shitey colour if you ask me. Okay, alright. So, toothpick. Rosy skin. There we are. There's the eye. Yes, much better. Much better. That changed things. I might have had to hold my breath a little bit and move very, very slowly, but I think that that has actually made a huge difference to the miniature now. So for those of you who wanted to sort of have a decent view, this is the wing. There are probably about 4 different colors on the wing. The spikes, I've used 2 different colors to apply to them. The holes are black. I painted black into them when I was doing the first color. Underneath I've used 2 colors, a light color and a darker color, and you may not be able to see the highlights, the darker color that I've put into the lower areas, but it's there. I'm going to rely on wash as well, obviously. And then the front of the miniature, which I don't know if I can I do this? Can you actually see it that well. Aim for the center. So the little spikes on the front here, I've used white and an off-white color to sort of do that. I think that's worked out reasonably well. They're all right. The inside of the mouth, I am not going to try to do too much with it, so it's very, very black in there, I know. The teeth, I've used 1, 2, 3, 4 different colors. I've gone white, a muddy white. Is it a muddy white? Or it's more like an off green, brown, and then a grey to get the mouth, teeth. And then the eyes is, I did white, red, orange, yellow to get the eyes. And I think that, although it's very tempting to do something with the forehead because there are some ridges in there and I haven't really done anything with them. What would I do though? No, I don't know that it's going to work. Honestly, I don't feel like it's going to work. So yes, there's a point with everything that you do that you have to say, I've done as much as I can, and I'm ready to put it aside. The base, I've used 2 colors. So there it is. I've made it happen. It all worked out fine. And how did our poll? So we had a few people show up and answer the poll. So in this group, we've got 35% are actor and storyteller, which I'm not surprised. That sounds probably right. The next highest number is 35% instigator and explorer. And then we've got watcher and thinkers, about 22%. And then we've got the optimizers, and then we also got the slayers, about 9%. Bearing in mind that everybody is usually made up of some elements of this. So yeah, not too bad. We've got I'm probably going to use a wash, and yes, I will eventually put a varnish or a protective coat over it later on. So yeah, let's end that poll. 3 players is about all I can handle. Look, everybody has their particular number of players that they can manage. I totally understand. You don't have to have the same number of players as I do in my group. It's just how I prefer to have the game. So hey, thank you for everybody who showed up and watched a very long live stream. And if you liked this sort of thing, that's great. Look, thank you to my patrons. Thank you to the people who keep showing up for these painting streams. Thank you for watching my stuff. If you want to support the channel, you can through the Amazon affiliate links down in the description. I have Patreon. I also have merchandise shelf underneath the videos, or just watch videos, that's fine. Usual YouTube things like share, like, and subscribe. Hit the bell button to be notified when I go live, and I go live a lot. And when I edit, put out published videos. And wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, or the wee early morning, please look after yourself, your family, and your friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s. Yes, I'm back tomorrow, Camille. Back tomorrow. I think we're going to paint the flumph.